Private integration. A year later, after Haiti, we were hit by the Tohoku disasters in Japan. That was super complex. Again, for you guys, Japan has like a dream crisis information system, completely integrated, multimodal, multi-channel, I mean, you name it. You name it, they have it all. This is basically a picture of the disaster command center at the Ministry of Land and Transport in Sendai. They have a set of cameras that are activated by different disaster types, and the system displays the feeds that are most relevant for the disaster that they have sensed it happen. Contrary to Haiti, basically the disaster, the infrastructure in Japan, I mean, was impacted, but was not completely destroyed. In fact, this is a picture of the Sendai port, and these things that look like matchsticks are basically 40-foot containers. Each of them weigh 25 tons. I mean, but you could see here that the gantry cranes were not even toppled. I mean, they held quite well. This is in Minami Senriku. This is a picture of Minami Senriku. This thing here is a roadway. In fact, when I drove through there, what I saw was like a straight line piece of dirt. That was what caught my attention. And a straight line piece of dirt that was maybe a meter and a half, a meter to a meter, something like this. And when I follow to see what it was, because it's completely straight, that was the remaining of a highway that was 6 meters high. In fact, I have a video of this thing, the tsunami hitting this roadway, kind of vaporizing this thing. I mean, it's just dropping. This is basically the floodgates I told you. These things might be like, I don't know, maybe 12, 15 meters high. You see debris on top. That was the hospital. The hospital I'll show you. Everybody died except those that made it to the roof. That was the height of the tsunami. The hospital was maybe 150 meters from the water. Not a good place for a critical facility, by the way. Access restoration, I'm pretty sure that all of you kind of have a very high opinion of the response in Japan. And I would say that belief is correct for the access restoration part of the equation. They restore access super fast. But if you believe that about the response, let me tell you, you are going to be disappointed, because the response to disaster was pretty bad. Basically, the agencies were not prepared for an event of this nature. They were well prepared for disasters, but not for catastrophic events. We check the disaster response plans they have. None of them had any meaningful provision for the relief effort. In fact, the relief effort started 6 days after the event because there was a scandal in Parliament. And then that was when the self-defense forces were basically asked to go ahead and deliver critical supplies. Now, the self-defense forces were not equipped for that. They have plenty of trucks, but they have plenty of trucks for the delivery of troops. Troop carriers are different than the trucks they need to transport food and water. And basically, it created a tremendous problem. 6 days after. There was looting, by the way. That was not reported in the press, but there was looting. And then, in essence, there was a major crisis. It's the same that happened in Haiti. Up to here, this script is pretty much the same one in Haiti. Of course, social and economic difference aside. But then, here, something unique happened. 5 companies in the food and logistics industry, they realized that there was a major crisis, a major humanitarian crisis, and they approached the government. They told the government, there is a major crisis, and you don't know it. And the government told them, don't worry about it. We have everything under control. And this company did something very un-Japanese. They decided to ignore the desires of the government. And these companies deploy all the resources to help victims. These companies, Yamato, Sagawa, Akebo, Nixon, and another company that I never remember, they basically deploy the resources in force, and they saved the day. Yamato, only one of them, sent to the street 700 trucks. 700 trucks loaded with food, water, all the basic supplies. And they saved the day. These people, in my opinion, deserve a medal, because they basically stopped the crisis. They didn't stop it. Let's say they put quite a dent on the crisis. The irony of all of this is that at some point, imagine if you are deploying 700 trucks a day, you are spending $1 million a day. At some point, this company said, we cannot keep doing this. We're going to go broke. And they talked to the government. What did the government say? Talk to the cities to see if the cities hire you. What cities? Do you remember the picture of Minami San Rico? What cities? And these people found themselves trapped. They couldn't continue because they would go broke. They couldn't stop out of the commitment to the people. And after a lot of wrangling, they got the prefectures to hire the prefecture to hire them, the states. But they ended up very, very bitter. They told me, Jose, that was very cruel. They got into this, they did an outstanding job. As I said, they deserve a medal. And at the end, they felt trapped. And that is something that shouldn't happen. Again, private sector participation is essential. Both sides would participate, but again, you need to have a way to enter and help, and you need to have a way out in order to be fair to all. Supply and demand is also very dynamic. We all kind of know that. This is from Katrina. Again, there is no parallel in the commercial sectors to something like this. This is a big challenge. Another thing is what we call, typically referred to as panic buying. It's not panic buying. It's quite a rational response. We need to control this. Why? Let me show you an example here. If we have, let's say, a disaster hitting LA, people that live here, they cannot buy anything. Most likely they have the money they have in their pockets. ATMs won't work. There are no supplies. But the people need supplies. But what happens to the surrounding areas? That people who have not been impacted directly, they buy the stuff. And they remove from the market the supplies that are best positioned to help victims. And that should not be allowed to happen. I interviewed in Japan the director, the person in charge of the largest distribution center in the whole area. And he told me the demand for their supplies doubled. And he suspected, he had the hunch that selling those things was not the best thing. But he didn't have any plans. He didn't have any instruction how to proceed. He sold them all. But he knew deep down that it was a bad idea. Because again, these supplies were right there. They were supplies that should have been used to help the victims. Again, these are the things that we need to control. Collapse of private sector supply chains. This is basically one of the most frightening things that we have found. Frightening and kind of unknowns. Because what happens in disasters is that the cities like this survive because there is basically like a non-stop flow of supplies. This non-stop flow of supplies, it depends on income. For a city like Rio de Janeiro, I would say maybe 25 to 30 kilograms per person per day. This is the amount of cargo that comes here to support trade, manufacturing, human consumption, etc., etc. In New York City, it's about 45 kilograms per person per day. Beijing is maybe 35. Medellin, Colombia, 25. You know, it depends on income. Now, what happens if that flow stops? I mean, this city starves. Warehouses, particularly in developed countries, store a limited amount of supplies. I asked a friend of mine that happened to be in charge of the largest food distributors in the New York metro area. I asked the guy, Bobby, how many days of supplies you have? Well, he said, I have 2 days for my customers. 2 days. That means if you don't get supplies, and they said this is customers. In less than 2 days, all of that is wiped out if they don't keep receiving stuff. What happens in a disaster? Well, let's say you are driving a truck. Okay, you are driving a truck to, let's say, Los Angeles. And all of a sudden you hear that a massive earthquake took place. You might be transporting a truck with super high priority supplies, let's say blood. What do? Do you keep driving? Do you keep driving? Well, some of you that have the hero gene, they said, okay, I'm going to keep going because people need this stuff. The rest of us, first, we try to call the customer to find out, are you alive? Should I keep going? Could I get there? Well, guess what? Most likely you cannot get through. And then basically, you come back. Do you know how long does it take for the super efficient commercial supply chains to get back to normal? Any ideas? 2 weeks. 2 weeks. 2 weeks in Japan and 2 weeks in Haiti. Kind of surprising, but that's true.